Joining us now to talk about this tragedy is Manager of Emergency Management from Humber College, Kathy Branton. Kathy, these countries are just at the beginning of their recovery efforts. What happens next, or what should happen within the coming days and weeks ahead?
So right now, basically, the first responders within Turkey will obviously be responding to look for survivors that may be trapped in and under buildings, putting out fires, all of those things that they need to do. Normally what happens in these situations as well is that the local communities will also stand up and they will start, because emergency services become overwhelmed when these types of situations occur. So what we see almost constantly is community members rallying together. They will go and they will try to search rubble, and they will try to move blocks and things that might be in the way where people might be trapped underneath to try to help get people out. So that's usually what happens within the first, immediacy, first couple hours. What will happen on an international scale is countries will obviously offer assistance in any way they can to help out. So, and that starts at the federal level. So, for example, in Canada, the federal government will reach out and say, how can we help? Within Canada, for example, with the Red Cross, they have something called the Disaster Response Team. Pardon me. And they will probably be rallied again. They will offer their assistance to say, we have a team of people who are specifically trained to assist in these types of situations. How can we help? The logistics of doing that are astronomical. So generally what will happen is the country that's affected will take all of these requests. They'll see who can provide what types of services, who can help doing what, and they will sort of stage how those people come in to help. Because the other thing you have to be concerned about is the fact that there's going to be aftershocks for, anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. So they also have to be mindful that you don't want to put more people in harm's way, but they do want to get assistance as soon as possible.
Are there normally mitigation plans in place to offset the chaos and devastation after a natural disaster?
Depending on the country, there are mitigative strategies that can be put in place, a lot of which have to do with building codes and such in terms of, reinforcing buildings. For example, Toronto is on an earthquake zone, a fault line. So there are building standards in place that require us to reinforce buildings with earthquake rebar and such to make sure the buildings can withstand an earthquake up to the expected magnitude that may occur in our particular area. So within many countries around the world, they have these standards. So as a sort of a mitigative measure, they're there. But in a lot of these areas, for example, in Turkey, they have a lot of older buildings that were built, hundreds of years before any of these strategies were in place. So there won't be anything in place for those types of buildings because it's not even necessarily possible to make the upgrades. So a lot of it comes down to education and awareness and teaching people what to do because we can't predict an earthquake. So teaching people what to do and how to respond and how to keep themselves safe while it's happening and the immediate aftermath is really a lot of the focus.
So what should we do if a natural disaster like an earthquake occurs?
So specifically to an earthquake, the general rule of thumb that we tell people is that as an earthquake starts, don't try to leave the building while the building is shaking. So if you're indoors, you're inside your house or you're at work and you're in a building and there's some rumbling and the ground is shaking, do not try to exit a building while it's shaking. So what we tell people to do is to take cover. So if you were at work, for example, maybe take cover under your desk, somewhere where you can prevent things from falling on you. Keep away from walls that have pictures hanging on them. Stay away from bookshelves that could fall over on you. Try to keep away from glass that could shatter and fall on you. So we tell people take cover, perhaps under a desk or something. And we also tell them, protect your head, put your hands behind your neck and protect your head. So in case anything does fall, it will minimize, hopefully, the risk of injury.
Thanks so much for joining us, Kathy Branton.
Oh, thank you.